Hello and welcome to Ways to Change the World. I'm Krishna Guru Murthy, and this is the podcast in which we talk to extraordinary people about the big ideas in their lives and the events that have helped shape them. My guest this week, in what is an extra podcast that we've been putting out really in response to the events of the last couple of weeks, is a comedian, broadcaster, podcaster, YouTuber. His real name is David Whiteley, but he is known as Sideman. Hi there, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. I mean, could you tell me about the name first? I mean, because I think I know what Sideman means, but why are you called Sideman?
I would love to hear your definition of Sideman first before I give mine.
Well, I think of it as not a very flattering thing. Somebody who's, not, well, literally a
The
sort of
main man.
Sideman. Yeah, not the main man.
Well, I mean, there's many different ways to look at it because the sideman could be just someone's man on the side, which is preferable to a lot of dudes sometimes. But there's also the other take on it where it's just like, yeah, the sideman, he's like coleslaw, garlic bread, akin to other things on the side, which won't sound flattering as a name. But as it pertains to the name, I felt like it fit my style of comedy a lot. So my style of comedy, I'm the person that's being the butt of the joke. Plus, the more secret and tactical reason of why I'm called Sideman is because there's a lot of men in the media industry, and they can be gatekeepers to a lot of things, a lot of opportunities that can come your way. And men have egos, and that's why when they rub shoulders with other men, sometimes there's ego checking, there's boosting, there's blocking of opportunities because they feel threatened or whatever the case may be. So when somebody's name is Sideman, it immediately shuts that down because I've already in your head lost the battle enough for you to take pity on me and give me the opportunity or just put your shields down because you feel like my shields are already down. And I actually found that it's worked well for me in being embraced and accepted by other men. They find it easier to actually respect me because my name is Sideman because it's like, oh, you know what? Yeah. You're a funny guy, but I like the things you say, but you dig what I'm saying? So it's like, it's that whole thing. And I've found that it's been very, very tactically helpful.
I mean, who has been your audience and how is that changing? Because you're obviously you're on Radio 1 Extra now, and that, I suppose, and it opens you out to a sort of a new and bigger audience potentially.
Different audiences, as the One Extra is its own audience. So sometimes I see people and they only know me for radio, or I've done things with Hamza Production. Hamza Production is an Asian YouTuber, and my character on his show is Rebecca with a K. He's a guy that thinks that because it's Rebecca with a K, that it's a man's name. So there are people that will stop me on road and say Rebecca, and my friends are confused, like, wait, what? Who's Rebecca? But they only know me as that. And then you have people that only know me from online comedy. So, or only know me from stand-up, or only know me from Love Island reviews, because Love Island reviews is something that I used to do. I used to do a lot of Love Island. I still do Love Island reviews, but obviously the show's not on at the moment. But I do Love Island reviews, and that opened me up to a whole wider demographic. So my followers is very mixed.
I mean, you have really created, a whole new way of progressing through these industries. That's, totally different to the way your predecessors would have worked their way up. How have you done that?
I feel like there's people that done it by happenstance or by chance or by mistake or just fell into it. But I felt like I looked at the game and said, a shift is coming here. Like how there's a divide between the TV world and which is the upper echelon of media and then the online world. In my head, about 5-6 years ago, I said there's going to be a shift where if you got enough followers or enough clout, you can be put in the room. I always wanted to be the more official guy. I always wanted to have a TV show or a radio show or something of that ilk. But I said to myself, it is actually a faster route for me to become the Instagram guy first and then show them that I can be the other guy because the numbers will get me into the room because the media game is becoming about results more than it is about talent. Oh, I feel like I've got the talent, but if I can prove to them that I can get the results, the numbers, the audience, then it's the double whammy.
Well, look, I want to explore all of that in more detail, but I really want to talk to you about what's going on at the moment because, as you say, for a comedian and an entertainer, you've been saying a lot of really serious stuff recently, online and on TV as a guest. And, I just want to explore that. I mean, how do you feel at the moment?
Me, I feel okay. I'm quite a resilient and tough person, and I try to face the realities of life as much as possible, so I'm never bombarded or surprised by them. Life is built to punch you up. It's literally designed to jab at you from the beginning. From you are born, you are dying. And it's not just your body that's dying. Metaphysical things die too. Relationships die. The friends that you had in primary school aren't the friends that you have in secondary school. The friends that you have in secondary school might not be the friends you have in college. And so life is forever changing and you're losing things all the time. If you base your happiness on any one of these structures that you feel like are permanent in your life and then they go, that would be the reason to be sad. My reason for being happy is just understanding that happiness feels better than sadness. And that will always be the case. And so in this crazy world that we're living in right now, I'm choosing to find the hope in it. I see a lot of hope in what's happening right now. I see a lot of actual, like if you ask me personally, enough has happened already for me to feel like change is not just coming, but has came. Is it enough change? By no means whatsoever. But change has actually come and in droves, considering that there was not a lot of these things happening before, brands and corporations being held to account for how they support the black community. Actual laws are changing. Statues have come down, and I feel like Black Lives Mattering is more of a subject than it's ever been before.
So at the time of recording, it's Monday morning. It's after the weekend in which we've had the sort of the second round of protests in which a lot of, far right, white marchers went into London. So what do you feel hopeful about this morning?
Well, as it pertains to the far right, I always say, that you can't heal what you don't reveal. We need to see that to understand where we are. I don't want people to turn away from those sites. Look at it. Look at it and see that that's the UK that we live in, because there are some people on the fence of feeling like there is a racism problem in the UK. Look at the footage of those guys out there, and when you see individual videos of them, a lot of them spreading racist rhetoric, Nazi signs and all of these kinds of things, understand that is the UK that you live in. And those were 300 Spartans. I've been to the Black Lives Matter protest. That's full up of like young people. Those were men. Those were adults. Like those were working adults, and they were predominantly men. That means that they all, if let's say there was 300 of them, those 300 men have 300 families that they pump their ideologies into, and different neighborhoods that they pump their rhetoric into with the poison of their logic. So look at it and see that this is what is part of the problem, and that's just the extreme case. We're not talking now about the subverted racism or the microaggressive racism. That's the exposed wound. That's the big one that you can see. There's probably worse that you can't see.
Did you see the image of Patrick Hutchinson, the personal trainer, picking up the white guy and carrying him to the police?
I saw that, but I don't even feel the need to hype that, because hyping that for me as a notion annoys me. Because what are we realizing? That black people can be nice? All right, like, what does it take that picture for you to understand that black people? Listen, black people can be cruel and kind like everyone else. Okay, seeing that image doesn't make me feel like, oh my God, now they see our humanity. We're humans. You should have been seeing our humanity. Black people can do good things. Black people can do bad things. They have a phrase in the black community sometimes when he says, somebody done something and set us back 200 years. We have a phrase, it's a common, somebody says, why did you have to go and do that and make us look bad? No. What do you mean? We don't look at white people in that monolithic view. We don't look at one white person's crime and say, you're making all white people look bad. You get what I'm saying? It's maddening to me. So even though, yes, it's beautiful to see that man do that thing, I'd rather rate that man as a man rather than rate him as a black man, because there's another black man that might have put that guy in that position. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't know. But all I know is whether there's a black guy that might have put that guy in the position or a black guy that picked him up, Black Lives Matter.
So tell me about your childhood. You were born in Jamaica, weren't you?
Yes, I was born in Jamaica, St. Elizabeth. even by Jamaican standards, I would consider how I grew up quite poor. Um, Used to have to travel for water. There was a time in my life where there was no tap there. We had to go to a tank down the road to collect water. I've lived that life in my life, and I feel that, and I'm so thankful for my upbringing, because I feel like it has made a lot of what phases other people not phase me. You know what I mean? Like, I talk to other comedians sometimes, and they talk about sometimes negative comments get to them and stuff like that, and I'm like, bro, I get paid to tell jokes, bro. Like, you don't even know what I'm coming from. I remember living that in that level of poverty, and I remember holding on to the feeling at the time. I remember saying to myself, even as a young child, like, I want to hold on to this. I want to hold on to this feeling and remember what it feels like, so that when I get there, I never forget where I come from. It will feel that much sweeter to me being where I am now, because of how I feel in this present situation. And that's why I say I'm richer than people that are richer than me. Because you might have gone higher, but I started from lower.
That's fascinating, though, that you knew that you would have a better life as a child. So how did you know that?
I'm not gonna lie, I just understood that I wasn't dumb. Like, it was just as simple as that. I understood that there was a certain intelligence within me. Like, from an early age, just my perception, my observation, my seeing of things. Like, for instance, like, no discredit to my brother, but when me and my brother was growing up, we looked at our parents' financial situation very, very differently. I took that upon myself. He when he was younger, and he will admit this himself, would kind of be very complaining about what we couldn't get. But I never complained, because I understand we couldn't get because they didn't have. I understood that very early on, to the point where when Christmas time would come around and my brother's saying, why ain't we getting no gifts? I wouldn't say that, because I didn't want to put any more pressure on them than was already probably on them from not being able to. You get what I'm saying? And so I took on what I feel like was adult burdens. It's only literally recently that I've let certain adult burdens go and actually, like, reverted back to childlike form when it comes to my family. Like, it's literally only recently. But as a young person, I took up big people thoughts. Bills was a thought. How it affected how I think about life in general. I'm not a spendthrift, because what I actually enjoy about money is actually just having it. Just knowing my bills are paid, and if a rainy day comes, I'm all right. That does more for me than any buying of any product. Literally, I'll sit there and just look at my account and just think, I'm in the green, I'm in the clear, I'm all right. I'm all right, because I watched my parents struggle with bills for the majority of my life. So just literally looking at that, it literally, how I grew up has affected my entire being and how I view life.
So how does that affect the way you think of, popular culture, fashion, all the things that kids and young people are buying and spending their money on? £200 t-shirts, £300 trainers, all those sorts of things,
Never gotten it, never understood it. Don't, like, literally, like, it befuddles me that I see people with what I would assume is less money than I have buy things that I don't feel like I can afford. like it's crazy. And it's not that I can't afford it, it's just my brain says, no way. Plus, I just feel like I'm unplugged from the matrix. Take away the cost value of these things, I don't think they're important. I know. I never had a sad childhood. I had a happy childhood because we were forced to find happiness with just each other. So my value in life has always been connecting with people, connecting with those closest to me. I nurture and cherish my favorite friendships. And I think that's what makes me be able to take the media industry in a way that a lot of people don't. Oh, there's so much fakes in the media industry. Oh, this is that. All of these complaints I hear, that why did you ever believe these people had your back? Why did you ever believe that they owed you anything ever? Oh, they said that they was going to give me the job and they didn't. So what? You don't really know these people. I don't consider to really know anybody that I haven't known for over a decade. I've got friends that that from school where if it was up to just their side of the friendship alone, we would have probably drifted apart. But I valued them friendships so much, I forced them to stay alive. And I have them friends today. I'm in a group, I'll be at an industry event, WhatsApping my friends from the ends, just busting the most joke. Can't wait to get home so I can really engage in the WhatsApp. And I feel like that sets my brain at so much peace in terms of so much things that people chase after, where I don't feel like happiness is or belongs. Like it's like you might find happiness from certain material things, but it's very dangerous to find happiness from material things, because let's say a scenario comes where you no longer have those material things, will you be happy? And I genuinely feel like if my entire life changed today and I had to go back to London, I can be happy. And there's a lot of people in the media industry I feel like can't.
It's very interesting you talk about the media industry. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many of my friends, you know, over the years, where you know, one minute they're up and the next minute they're down. One minute, you know, they've got the best job in the world and the next minute they're dropped. And you kind of go, but if you think about it, there was never any real reason why we were singled out and put up on this pedestal. You know, we were kind of lucky, and so there's no real reason why you get taken off it either. And that makes it a crazy industry to be part of.
The media industry is a case study within itself. Are you telling me you're a part of this thing and you don't watch documentaries of falling off people? You don't see this. You don't see people trying to clutch onto a fame that they had and then end up destroying their legacy by just being completely not age appropriate with their behavior whatsoever, trying to chase after something that they had not been content with the fact that, yo, you was a legend. Why can't that be enough? Why can't it be? It will be enough for me one day when I get stopped a lot when I go out the house, right? And people ask me for pictures and things of that nature. It will be okay for me the day when I'm walking around and no one's stopping me anymore. I genuinely feel like it will be for me, because I understand that that's the game. I've prepared myself for it. I've accepted it. It's just a part of life.
But you're in a really interesting position in that you've created your own success online in a way that you're not dependent on, you know, big media companies and executives and all the rest of it. Now, you know, once you become part of the more, you know, the media establishment, if you like, you work for the BBC now, you then do become much more reliant on the decisions of, well, white executives on the whole.
I'm definitely reliant on the decisions of others. like my biggest source of income is brand deals. That in itself is a chokehold on a different level. I actually have more freedom at the BBC than I do with brands. There's more freedom of speech, I'm telling you this from experience, at being a part of One Extra than there is being a part of brand. Brands want you to be unproblematic. That's why even talking about all the stuff that I've talked about in recent weeks, like there was definite fear before posting every video I've posted. Every time I've talked about it on the news, people, I saw somebody in my comment section said to me today, look at you, you're milking this, you're loving the TV coverage that you're getting. That's why you're doing this. That's why you're talking about this. Let me explain something to you. Brands don't care about the TV coverage if the TV coverage is of you talking about mad political and divisive issues. They don't care about that. You're problematic now. You're doing too much talking. We tell you how to feel about our product. You be quiet. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, I depend upon brand deals a lot, but I also understand that they will come and they will go.
So how do you square your attitude towards consumerism and, you know, spending money on crazy things and making all your money from brand deals?
Well, I don't make all my money from brand deals, but I make more of it than anything else. But you just work with who you're cool with working with, innit? For instance, I don't drink at all. Alcohol brands have approached me loads of times. I've been told my manager I'm not doing any, and sometimes the deal comes in so big, he still has to ask me like, yo, are you sure? Like, just look what they're saying. Do you get what I'm saying? So you pick what you're cool with, innit? And I've let a lot go.
So why don't you drink?
The idea of drinking offends my brain. Like, I have a really high rating of my brain and personality. And the thought of drinking in order to improve upon my social vibe offends my mind. Like, literally, if I'm being as frank as I can be, like, like I'm in a social setting now, let me drink to loosen myself. I've been loose, came loosened up. Like, anything I want to say is gonna get said. Anything I don't want to say, I won't be saying.
And presumably you then have the same attitude towards, you know, all drugs. It's anything that's changing your mind.
Anything that's changing my mind, like I get a lot out of being the only person in the room that is sober. You can see things, you can see everyone now. and they're not focused on anything, but you can see everything. And that's where I get a lot of the fun out of my life. I'm a very observant person. I like to observe. I like to see what's happening. I like to see the things that people are saying that they didn't say with their mouth. Do you get what I'm saying? That they say with their actions, that they say with the way they move. So drinking would like literally shut all that down.
So when did you leave Jamaica and how come?
I always get this so wrong. My friends laugh every time I tell this story because I've said every age from 7 to 12. So somewhere between 7 and 12, I left Jamaica. But it's interesting in Jamaica. If you leave there at 10, you would have lived a full adult life. So I have as many stories from Jamaica than I do here, and I'm 28 now. So Jamaica is just one of those places where you grow up fast, you live fast, you learn a lot of stuff fast. But the reason why we came here because we was poor. We came here because we was poor, and my dad is a preacher and a good preacher. So they wanted him to come over here and preach. And because they wanted him to come over here and preach, that's how he ended up here. And then he took my mom up after, and then he took us up after.
What, so he was brought over by a church?
Yeah, he was brought over by a church.
So what was the role of religion in your life as a young boy? And now?
Massive role. Keeps me grounded. It keeps me grounded in believing that I have defense and protection past my own 2 hands and feet, which is, I totally understand why some people might be afraid a lot of time or anxious a lot of times, because it's like, how much can you really do in this world? I'm a very controlling person. I like to control a lot of things in my life. I like to control the outcome as best as I can. But after a while, you do realize no hands and feet can do certain things. And I learned that lesson early because my dad had cancer when I was 6 years old. I remember walking into my dad's room and finding him passed out on the floor when I was 6. Immediately, as a 6-year-old, even though Instagram and Snapchat weren't around at that time, I realized that's not the important things in life. You know, sometimes it takes losing a family member to learn, like, sometimes you never learn life or the value of life or the importance of life until you lose somebody, until you're faced with the idea of mortality. And I got faced with that very young. Now, my dad survived that, but all we could do was pray. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, literally all we could do. And I find great comfort in being able to think at the end of the day, God has a plan for my life.
But if you're the one who is really in control, who is so in control that you don't want to drink or do anything like that you want to plan, not plan out your life, but you want to be in control of what's going on, how does that square with God having a plan for you?
It's very similar to how a parent guides their child. Like you can somewhat, for instance, a parent might see a child about to do something wrong, or that might hurt them a little, but they might let it happen. They might just observe and survey the situation. At any point, they could have stopped him from touching that thing, but maybe he needs him to learn that that thing is hot. Do you know what I mean? So he can learn a life lesson that he's never learned before and will carry with him for the rest of his life. And so I understand that I'm being surveyed at all times, but I also understand that I have to make my own decisions, and I understand that it's an oxymoron, but I'm not God. You get what I'm saying? So I don't have the luxury of being the person that's standing behind the person making the decision that you could stop at any time. You get what I'm saying? I just look at it as I gotta live my life and live it to the best of my ability.
So what is do you have a national identity? I mean, do you feel Jamaican or British or both or what?
I feel Jamaican. I feel like a Jamaican that lives in the UK, and that's its whole other thing. And I love it. I love it because I feel like I was literally weaponized with certain mindsets that just made me think very differently. Jamaica's a country of trioting. There's like, when you walk around in Jamaica, from what I remember, I haven't even been back since I came here, but what I remember from walking around in Jamaica is you don't see like established stores as much. You don't see the Tesco and the Asda. You see my man's shop, my man's local bike store, or my man's local this and that. So entrepreneur mindset has been in my mind. It's never been, oh yeah, I'm gonna join this already built entity. I will have to carve out something for myself. That's how I grew up thinking. And even though Jamaica is a poor country, that's just how everybody does their thing. So the mindset is there to do it, to try a thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that's why red tape will frustrate me more than it will frustrate the average person, because it's like red tape just feels like it's slowing me down. There's less red tape in Jamaica. It's like, yo, I want to build a shop, just build a shop. Over here, it's like if you wanted to build a shop, you know what I mean? There's mad legislations. Are you allowed? What's the permits? What's the rules? What's the regulations? So it's like, but with this Jamaican mindset in school, I never ever thought, yo, I'm just gonna like work for somebody in the standard concept of working for somebody. I always felt like I'm gonna have to carve out my own way.
I mean, pretty much everything you have said about yourself cuts across the cliched stereotype of the young Jamaican man in Britain. So why do you think that is? Do you think young black men in Britain are responsible for that cliche? Or is it people imposing that on them?
Into what cliche in particular?
Oh, about street cool, about language, lifestyle, attitudes towards drugs and sex and fashion and cool and all those sorts of things.
Stereotypes are perpetuated by the people that don't do them and just say that others do, and then the people that are being accused of it. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like they're perpetuated by both. And I always think about this interesting conundrum in my head. I never answer the question, but I always ask it in my head and to others. Let's say you was on a bus, right? As a white man, you get on the bus with your daughter. Imagine this: you're a white man, you get on the bus with your daughter. You go upstairs on the bus here, and there's just a bunch of black kids here, black lads from a school or something like that, all hooded up. And you peek over and you peek over the little thing that you can peek over at the top of the bus, and you look over at all the lads, and they're everywhere, and they're rambunctious and they're just loud and everything. You decide to take your daughter up and sit downstairs. Do you judge that man? How much do you judge him? Because there's extents to judging, isn't there? Like you might say he's 10% wrong, or 20, or 30, or 40. I've always struggled with that one, because now you might have a moment of, I'm going to try my best and not be racist and sit amongst these men. Or does your fatherly instinct kick in above all else and say, I'm just going to be safe to be safe? These lads are probably great, but just in case, I'm going to sit downstairs. Do you get what I'm saying? I always ask myself these things when it comes to stereotypes. I think that stereotypes are something that you have to purposely shut down, because you will be given reasons to believe certain stereotypes. We will all catch ourselves believing a stereotype at a certain point, and we will have to manually shut that down. I said it in one of my videos about black people dealing with race, with white racists. The only clue that we have that somebody could be a white racist is that they're white, until they reveal themselves. So black people walk around thinking, we don't know who's for us and who's against us. And racism can be so microaggressive that you could not know for months. It could be as simple as somebody reading a form with your application for a job, seeing an African name at the end, and saying, you know what? I don't want to hire Ugambe. I'm a hire somebody else. And you will never know that that's why your application was denied, because that was just a thought in somebody's mind. And that's why I say you have to manually shut down stereotypes in your mind. Don't just expect it to automatically happen.
So do you think if you're a young black person, you should assume that you're swimming in a sea of racists?
Maybe to me, that's like asking, do you want to live or do you want to die? Like it can be that grave a question. I, in most things in my life, tend to err on the side of caution. My dad always has a phrase that he taught me. He says, when in doubt, don't. That's what my dad always says. When in doubt, don't. So should I walk around just not safeguarding myself from the potential racism that I might encounter? If I'm being honest with you, that's not how I live my life.
So what does that mean in practice, though? I mean, does it mean that in practice, when the racism comes, you're just not surprised because you're braced and you're ready for it? Or does it actually change the way you are interacting with that person from the off?
In reality, it's very, very, it's awful, because black people's defense a lot of times to protecting ourselves from racism is to diminish our personality. It is to actually shave down who you are. Now that we're speaking up more, it's weird, this feeling of freedom to just say, I have a problem with this. Yes, I have a problem. Yes, I do. Oh my gosh, it's weird. It feels weird coming out my mouth, And then when I look back at how I've been at times in my life, what different is it from yes, massa? Okay, massa. What's the difference? When I really think about how we have our white voice, how we have our white mode for when we interact with certain people. Don't laugh too loud. Don't seem too rambunctious. Don't be yourself too much. Like ha 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 ha. And all of those things. Like when you really think about it, it's horrible to think that you shave yourself down as a human in order to fit in. The defense mechanism is actually not offensive, but very much defensive for a lot of black people. Because at the end of the day, you want to eat, you want to feed your family.
Everyone is saying it's not enough not to be racist. You have to be anti-racist as a white person. We've also had a few years in which, I don't know whether you've sort of noticed the whole debate around whether Britain should be a multicultural society, whether multiculturalism was right, of lots of different cultures living alongside each other warmly, or whether we should have been more integrationist, in other words, watering down cultures, and taking away the differences between us. So what kind of happy future should we be heading towards?
I'll say this on what you just said. I think it's very insensitive for anybody to suggest the notion of go back to where you're from. Then you brought us here, bro. Like you brought us here, and we've lived here so long we don't even know anything about where we come from. Unless I do ancestral background checks on my blood or something, I have no idea which African tribe I originate from or my bloodline. I don't know. I do. Guess where I would know that if I never left. If we never left, if we were never taken from where we were taken from, I'd know the answer to that question in the most natural and human way possible. It would have been passed down. I would have known these things. So we're a multicultural society, and it's your doing.
The trouble that a lot of people in power have, though, I think, is if you look at Boris Johnson, he's the guy who defends the right of Muslim women to wear what he then denigrates as letterboxes. So, I'm sure he would have no problem, or a lot of people, it doesn't even need to be about him. A lot of people in the white establishment will have no problem with you saying, I need to be myself. I don't need to water down my heritage and my culture and who I am in order to please white society. And in your case, they'll go, yeah, that's fine. But then there will be cultures, immigrant cultures, that they're really uncomfortable with, and that they really don't want to say, yes, okay, that's fair. You go and be yourself, because what yourself is something I don't really like.
Yeah, they pick and choose. There's definitely a pick and choose. It's literally only going to happen by them giving up power. And that's a very strange concept for any human being. You have to give up a certain level of control in order to have an equal society. Like, I don't think it's crazy to me, because it's like, when it comes to black people, we are really the bottom of the barrel in society, how I see as how we are viewed and how we are treated. So because I see it like that, people of color in general, that's how I see it. So they would literally have to let go of some of their control. And I was saying this in somewhere else before. Right now, it takes a purposeful push, because we were purposely pushed back. So you have to purposely push us forward for it to be even. Don't think this is strange. Because what it feels like to a lot of white people is that we're asking for opportunities with no merit, rights with no merit. But it's not. We were never equal. We started off wrong. So you have to set it right. We don't owe you nothing to set it right. You just have to set it right so it's equal.
And how do you see the solidarity differences, or otherwise, between different ethnic groups? Are we basically all in this together as people of colour?
Listen, ethnic groups are racist to ethnic groups too. That is a fact. That's just not the issue right now. We ain't doing nothing to each other near what white supremacy is doing to all of us. So right now, it might just be a look over here like, yo, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. You get what I'm saying? We have our own conversations to have between the black and the Asian community. We have our own conversations to have. But I genuinely feel like those conversations are a piece of cake in comparison to toppling white supremacy, because that's hitting both of us at the same time. So those conversations can be had, but they're not as pertinent. The conversation we're having right now is a conversation of life or death. That's what we're in right now. We're in life or death. Black people are dying. Black people are being marginalized differently. So and I actually feel like healing that wound, there'll be some offshoot to healing other wounds also, I believe, because I've seen the Asian community stand with us heavy during this time. And the Asian community is going through a lot. So for I actually applaud the support of saying Black Lives Matter. It means something when someone else is going through their own thing and can care about what you're going through. That's why I feel like there'll be a lot of healing during this time across the board, because I believe there's a lot of healing going on between black people and white people. When you see the amount of white people that are showing up to these protests, it's emotional as a black person to see that. I'm telling you, it is emotional to see white girls chanting, white guys chanting, kneeling and putting up their fists for George Floyd. It's emotional.
So let's come back to your industry, which is the media industry. I mean, how do you think the modern contemporary media is shaping contemporary racism? Because this isn't just about history, is it?
Yeah, definitely not. Well, okay, let's look at it. Take emotions out of it and put maths in it. This is a white country. There are more white people than anybody else if you separate people individually by color. So there's more white people than Asians, there's more white people than black people. Okay? If you're going to get somebody to promote your corporation, your brand, your TV show, your this, your that, it would stand to reason and make sense that you would pick a white person to lead, and so that it will reach the biggest demographic. When you have that as a concept, brands are doing oftentimes what's in their best interest. Now we need you to stop doing that. Now we need everybody to stop doing that. I am no longer looking at people's decisions as decisions of business or politics or gain. I'm looking at everybody's decisions as, who are you as a man? Who are you as a woman? Who are you as an individual? With the death of George Floyd, I have stopped thinking like that. I will judge you as a man from Boris Johnson all the way down. I will judge you as a man depending on how you speak on things and what you say. I don't care about, okay, I don't care about what you say as, okay, this was what I had to do for my political position. Political position be damned. I woke up that morning, right, on the death of George, when I found out about George Floyd, understood that if I make a video about this, it could affect my brand, and said, it's not about that no more. It can't be about that for me no more. Who am I as a man? When I go to bed at night, who am I lying down as? When I look myself in the mirror, who am I? Now I'm watching everybody's decisions and I'm saying, yo, do you think Black Lives Matter? Do you think people of color matter? Your decisions are now based on that. So now brands and corporations have to understand black people have been marginalized and held back, and we need opportunities to get up in the world and be on equal footing with everybody else.
So when Boris Johnson announces another review, are those the actions of somebody who believes, well, I don't know whether you've seen the news today, you know, with he's written an article in the Telegraph basically saying, you know, there were thugs at the weekend, there were thugs before then. We can't rewrite history, he says. And in order to sort of tackle racism in Britain, we need another inquiry to find out what's wrong.
They've been rewriting history. They've been just ignoring the parts that they want to ignore and promoting the parts that they want to promote. Like, I gave this example the other day. If you have a man commit murder, right, go prison. His time is 25 years. Year 5, he finds God, changes his life, in his heart is changed. His sentence doesn't go down, does it? He still has to do his time. I don't care what Winston Churchill did to fight the Nazis. If you're treating people differently because of the color of their skin, you got to do your time. and the time you're doing is not to be a person that is promoted and perpetuated and memorialized, that is saying that, oh yeah, he killed a couple of black people, but that's all right. Let's forget that. That our life is this. Our life is to forget that. And let's not. We don't need to focus on that. That's neither here nor there. Or Irish people as well. That's neither here nor there. Let's focus on the Nazi part. He fought Adolf Hitler. Do you get what I'm saying? So don't tell me that we can't rewrite history because you're doing that by those statues being up there is a rewrite of history.
So just to come back to the media and what the media is doing and could do, what do you think is the importance of shows like Big Nasty on Channel 4, or the shows that are sort of not...
Extremely important, but more needs to be done because it's actually been dumb, them not putting us forward in terms of media and culture. It's been unintelligent for them to do that. So some decisions like that, I see as, nice, but it's cute. But start putting us in the things behind the scenes. Start putting us in the decisions. It'll actually be better. It'll be better for you. It'll be better for you to not be so culturally clueless. Because that's why a lot of these announcements by brands have been culturally clueless and backfired on them because there was no black person in the office making that decision. Or they would have told you, bro, that ain't going to work, That ain't going to work. Do you get what I'm saying? Or you have black people in your offices that would never tell you that's not going to work because they didn't feel safe to. And that's a part of the problem too. So I believe that you have to, until you're making decisions that put your business at risk, you got to take a chance. I want to see you taking a chance on black people because Big Nasty's big, Mo the Comedian's big. Start taking a chance on purpose so we can even the play. We need on purpose help. We were purposely pushed back. We need to be purposely pushed forward.
If you could change the world anyway, wave a magic wand, what would you do?
You know what? One of the first things that came to my head is, I don't know why, but just cure depression. Because depression is something that people can go through where it's very different to I can give somebody very good advice and have them change. Because what was wrong is just that they had a wrong ideology. But sometimes depression is just one of them things where it's you can't even tell them 1 + 1 is 2. Because first of all, you need to break down what 1 is. Because their mind has jumbled up what 1 even is. And sometimes it's really sad seeing somebody go through that. It makes me sad seeing people go through that. Go through something where they don't even understand what it is. So if there was some form of a clinical cure for depression, just to bring a person's mind back to zero, to start fresh and to start level, yeah, that's one of the things that I would want.
Do you have a particular experience that you'd want to talk more about on that front? Just because it's kind of come sort of out of nowhere in a way, and it's really interesting to hear you say it.
Because when I started thinking about black people wanting fairness, I just thought about the fact that I cannot want mind control because people deserve freedom of choice. And so anything I would want that would bring people with equal footing, as long as people's minds ain't right, there'd still be a problem. So I thought of one of the things where it's people's minds ain't right and it's not their fault. That's why it came to that. And it's because I've had friends. It's very hurtful to me when I see friends go through that, because I've had friends that have suffered deep levels of depression. And it's painful to me because I don't understand it, because I've never been depressed. So watching somebody go through something, and I'm such a fixer of things. I so want to fix things. I'm the kind of friend where it's listen, man, if you just think like this, then this will change this. And if you have the right mindset, then blah, 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 blah. But sometimes when you come across the situations there's nothing you can say. You don't have the answers. You don't, it's painful to see. I've seen friends get sectioned. I've seen friends that were very intelligent just lose their mind. And so it's a very sad thing to see.
Well, it's a very powerful conversation. Sideman, thank you so much for sharing your ways to change the world. It's a real pleasure to talk to you. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you want to watch all of these interviews, they're on the Channel 4 News YouTube channel. Please do give us a rating and a review if you have the time. Our producers are Rachel Evans and Hela May. Until next time, bye-bye.